Hello everyone, welcome to another episode of the Unplugged Woodworkers podcast. So I have literally just got home from work. I've been away for 2 weeks working. I did actually manage to get outside a little bit today, although the weather's been very poor. It's been kind of drizzling all day, on and off sort of thing. But I did get out. I have been building, or rather I was building, a Japanese inspired bench. This was I started building this before I went away, the last couple of days before I was due to go away to work. I built it because it was supposed to be simple, but it would be simple if you were using like a compound miter or so, but there was a little bit more work because the legs are splayed at 70 degrees and this is built with 62 construction lumber. So as I said, if you're using like some sort of a miter saw, it would be perfect. But obviously when you're doing it by hand and you're using hand saws and then you've got to finish up with a plane to get the correct angle, it involves a little bit more work, which I didn't really take into consideration. And I have done stuff like this in the past, so I should have known better. But in all fairness, it didn't take that long, but a little bit longer than I expected. So for those of you that did miss it, I did actually put out a video, or rather I scheduled a video to come out, I believe that was last Sunday, and that was the video on the vise build. So if anyone is interested, obviously you can check that out on my YouTube channel. I can't remember the length of the video, I think it's about like 20 minutes, something like that. Gives you the basic idea. There isn't any plans for that. It is pretty self-explanatory, although I did see on the video that if I do get enough interest I would make some plans, but I haven't had anyone ask. As I said, it is pretty simple. There should be as well, maybe midweek, I should be releasing the video build for the bench I've just been talking about, the Japanese inspired bench. That's probably going to live in me kitchen, probably. The idea being that I could build a bench for that breakfast bar thing that I've yet to get back to, but I am going to get back to it starting maybe tomorrow, which is going to be very cool. Get that done and dusted and out of the way. So I think that's probably going to be part of the set. And obviously I'm going to build 2 chairs for it as well, so I am really looking forward to building the 2 chairs. I am most likely going to build the Jenny chairs, as that's what's been on my mind for a long time, so I think I am going to build them. So what impressed me this week, so on Instagram there was a video of a Japanese craftsperson. I started following him maybe a couple of months ago, and like everything he posts I find impressive. But I'll put a video up on the screen for those of you that are watching on YouTube. So this is some type of a scarf joint. It's only showing you from the side, so it's got your typical scarf joint where it's actually cut on a diagonal. But it looks to have some sort of maybe a dovetail or a finger joint. I'm guessing it's probably going to be a dovetail. Just an educated guess maybe. But it's very, very cool, and you can hear the tightness of the joint. He obviously puts it together. It's on it's on saw horses, Japanese style saw horses, and he knocks it forward, the guy knocks it forward, and he starts moving it about, tapping it, and you can hear the friction in the joints. Very, very cool. I really, really want to start cutting these joints, but I'm not a fan. Anyone that follows us knows that I'm not a fan of cutting joints when they don't need to be cut. A good example of this, and I have talked about this before, is cutting dovetails. So if you cut the corner of a dovetail, and then you cut that corner off and kind of put it somewhere for a progress sort of thing, which I mean each to their own, but me personally I'd rather be making something out of it. So there lies a problem in my brain, my logic. You know, it kind of tells us that I shouldn't really be making that joint unless I've got something to use it for. That's just the way my brain works. But I really want to like start cutting some of these joints, because some of these joints are really good, and I think I would probably benefit, you know, from the practice, obviously learning new techniques and you know, perfecting me craft, if you will. So there is a possibility I might jump into some of these joints, probably I think. So for those of you that follow me on Instagram, and you have been on Instagram yesterday or maybe today, you would have seen me messing around with the frame saw, which I have here in front of me. This is this is quite a big frame saw. I think this is actually one of the biggest saws I own at the moment. I've never had anything bigger than this. So the reason that I actually got this saw, as the title kind of tells, is that I'm kind of looking to get more efficient with things. Like, probably it's more to do with aging, I suppose. Basically, I'm falling apart. Basically, I'm having a lot of problems with me elbows and me knees. My diet's probably not doing us any favours at the moment, but I don't think that's the be-all end-all of it, unfortunately, because if it was, I could just swap my diet and everything would be well. But I think it's just wear and tear with my body. As I've stated many times, 25 years of scaffolding, it hasn't been kind to my body. So I am starting to feel things. It's not too often that I use Western saws, but the last time I did use a Western saw, when I was cranking down on it, my rip saw, I think it's about like 4 teeth per inch, so it can go through material quite quick, but it can be a little bit jerky, if you will. You know, kind of like jaggedy, if that's the right word to use. But as you're cutting and you can feel it, well, at least I can feel it in my elbows, shoulders, my wrists. The Japanese saws are really good, don't get us wrong. I'm always going to use Japanese saws. I love Japanese saws. But as I said, I'm looking for something a little bit more efficient, a little bit quicker, where I'm not using as much effort. The thing with the Japanese saws, at least for me, they do cut really well. There's no escaping that. Once I learned how to use it, like basically I've experimented so much, and you know, I've been using one for quite a long time now. But once I kind of learned how to use it, they are pretty efficient, but I do get gassed out like really easily by them now. Again, I think that's kind of more like I am getting older. I'm getting older now, like I'm 42 this April, so I'm getting old. But I am starting to feel things like that, so I am kind of looking to get more efficient, just so I'm a little bit kinder at my body. I mean, even today, I was cutting with this and I posted a video on Instagram. I'll put it up on the screen for those of you that are watching on YouTube. And it's pretty effortless. I mean, I'm cutting, I'm not putting a lot of force into it, you know, and this has got a bit of weight behind it, and after the cut I wasn't out of breath, which is really good. But if I had used me Ryobi and try me Japanese saw and try to compete with this guy, this guy would have won, hands down, speed wise. And that's another thing with this. I did mention this in the comments on Instagram, because I did actually speak to quite a few people, and I wasn't rushing with this. I was actually taking my time with this. This is like, it's very alien to me, and I am going to go into a few of the things about this. I haven't really had a great deal of time to mess around with this, but the next 2 weeks I'm going to try and like use it as much as I can just to try and get a feel for it. So I come across an article by the English woodworker. I'm sure just about everyone will know who he is. I think I had visited this article like, you know, when it first come out maybe, and I do kind of vaguely remember like looking at it, and for whatever reason I never followed it up to, you know, to kind of to get any of these saws. So fast forward to like maybe a month ago, something like that, I started looking into it. And basically the English woodworker, he was saying he thinks this is where it's at for ripping and resawing. So for me, that's one of the biggest problems I've got when I'm working with hand tools. I can't really say it's a problem. That's probably the wrong word to say. It's not a problem. It's just when you're doing this like on a regular basis, it can be quite tiring and quite taxing on your joints and stuff, as I was talking about at the start of the podcast. So obviously he's kind of like saying this is where it's at, but he hasn't quite figured it out yet. I don't know if he's abandoned this or not. I've no idea. I'd actually like to see a follow-up. So with that being said, I try to do a bit more research. There's very little information on these frame saws. So I'm fortunate enough at the moment to be able to go out and buy one of these. So that's what I did. This is from Germany. I don't think there's anywhere in England that does them, or if there is, please put it in the comments. Let everybody know in case they want to try this out. But I actually got this from Germany, and this is the 700mm blade version, and this has actually got a, I think is it called a turbo? Let me see a minute. Yeah, turbo cuts 700 universal. So this is the blade itself is 700mm long. So obviously you've got 700mm of blade, you know, you can use quite a lot of it. Although I think that'll probably take a little bit of practice, at least by me it will, to start using the full length of it, which obviously it's going to be more beneficial to do that. So the first time I actually used this to cut through some 6x2 construction grade material, and this was for the bench I was cutting. And I remember it was only a few weeks ago, just before I went to work, and I remember very vividly I was cutting down my line, and like just the sheer time I cut the joint, I was like, holy shit. I was like, I couldn't get over how quick I'd just like basically cut down, or all I cut through that 6B2. Obviously the way I had it positioned, I cut through the width of the board, not the thickness, so that was like, you know, just under 6 inches. So I was like, wow. Even today, when I was cutting through the board, I was basically bringing the bench. I was basically bringing the bench to its final size. So that the width of that was like two 6x2s, plus a 6x2 on its end. So you had like a T shape, and they got glued together. So I basically had that, and I'll put the video up again. Honestly, it just cut through like it was nothing. But I think that was one of the things that sold this for me, because it had a Japanese blade in it, and obviously I'm a big fan of the Japanese teeth shaping and the pattern of Japanese teeth, because it works so well. my personal opinion, I think they are a little bit better than Western saws, but don't shoot me. That's just my opinion. But yeah, it seems really like there's a lot of potential in it. I did do like several hours of research, searching on the internet, trying to find out information. Like basically just trying to find out trying to find demonstrations of people using these techniques and such. Very little information I could find. So basically what I did find was these were very popular in Europe, places like Sweden, Denmark, places like that. Obviously, they do use something very similar in China, and from what I gather, the Chinese version of these are a little bit smaller. They don't tend to get as big, although don't take my word for that. This is just what I've been like researching. I also discovered that the Chinese that do use these often tend to keep them at a 45-degree angle. The blade tilted, because obviously these blades do tilt. Obviously they go 360 degrees. So that's kind of, as I said, I didn't really find out a lot of information about that. I did end up watching some old Scandinavian videos on YouTube, maybe some other sites as well. The craftsmen were very skilled, very highly skilled. It was quite pleasurable to watch them, but they weren't particularly like the things they were doing and the things they were making didn't really call for a lot of soaring. So I didn't get to see a lot of soaring. It was like I think I seen like a couple of like seconds on like one or two videos, which was a little bit disappointing, because obviously that's all I was looking for. Although I did watch the videos, they were quite cool. Just as a reference of what I thought was quite cool, I'm veering off topic a little bit here. There was, I think it might have been a Scandinavian, was he from Denmark or Sweden? It might be Swedish actually. So he was a craftsman that made traditional skis out of wood. He basically went out, cut a tree down, brought the tree back in and made skis with it. It was like literally from scratch. And what was quite good was the fact that he turned the ski on its edge, and he was edge planing it, but it was how he edge planed it, or rather how he clamped it. So he had his bench, and where the legs were, there was two little notches cut out, and you know what them notches were for, don't you? For wedges, which I thought was really cool. I think the video itself might have been shot, guessing maybe back in the 50s, maybe, somewhere like that. It might have been longer, the videos might have been restored to colour, but I'm guessing the 50s. I didn't save the video, unfortunately, so I could be there all day looking for it, which I'm not going to do. But that was very cool. Your first thoughts of this, it's heavy. It's really heavy. It's a lot heavier than my Japanese saw, which I'm very used to using. So even when I'm holding it like this now, for those of you that aren't watching, I'm actually holding it with one hand, and there is actually quite a lot of strain on my wrist there. Obviously you wouldn't hold it like this, obviously it'd be resting on wood, but it is heavy. I mean, even for a Western saw, if you've got a good size Western saw, like a ripping saw, even those aren't as heavy as this. So when I did first get the saw and I pulled it out of the box, by the way, this come fully assembled in a box, which I thought was absolutely crazy. Honestly, big huge box come, and when I ordered it, I thought to myself, oh cool, it'll come and I'll have to put it together. I'm a little bit sad like that. I like to do things like that, so I was actually a little bit disappointed when it was pre-assembled. But I thought, what a waste, like all out here from Germany. That's probably why I paid so much postage. I forget how much the postage was now. It was like, I couldn't believe what I paid in postage, but I thought, like, why don't you just like kind of take it apart and put it in, you would have been able to put it in like a cardboard tube, what you get plans and stuff in, or posters in, like something like that, it probably would have been cheaper. Obviously you're not using as much cardboard, but anyway, it come as it is. So the first thing I thought about doing was to take this steel rod out. So for those of you that aren't watching, at the top, the way it's actually the way the blade's actually tightened is at the top there's actually a steel rod, and you tighten it via a butterfly bolt, butterfly nut, and I really don't like it. There's just the rod itself, obviously the rod is steel. There's actually a little bit of weight in that just itself. I don't like tightening this, because obviously, for those of you that don't know, when you are using these, so when you release the bolt, which you would do at the end of play, that means the wood's not under tension, the blade itself's not under tension, or any of the fasteners aren't under tension. Obviously this is just going to be better for the longevity of all the parts. So I really didn't like that. So my first inkling was to actually take this off and put just some cord on it. I've got some hemp there, I've got some jute. So that was my first inkling to do that. Just get a piece of oak, a quick 5-10 minutes, shape a piece of oak, just to tighten it up with. Second thing I do not like are the handles. The handles are probably maybe 4 inches, maybe 3 inches, 3.5, 4 inches, something like that. Really don't like them. I was actually debating on whether to cut them when I first got the saw, but obviously I haven't, and I'm not going to as of yet. The next thing I did not like was the centre beam. The centre beam is maybe 1 inch thick at the edges, and it does actually belly out both sides. I really don't like that. The centerpiece itself has got a bit of weight in it, so again, I could reduce this. I did want to reduce this. Basically, keep the two edges that make contact with the two side pieces where the handles are. Keep that section maybe like about 2 inches either side of that, like keep it at its original size, and then just taper the thing down into the center to make it thinner. Obviously this is less material, it's going to be less weight. Again, I haven't done that. I'm not going to do that as of yet. So the reasoning behind this is that I haven't tested it enough to think like to merit me messing around with the design. I mean, in all fairness, this design's been around for however long it's been around for, and then you've got someone like me that comes along and hasn't really got a clue about these types of saws to be altering it. I think if I was to do it, I am a little bit scared that I'm going to reduce the weight, and the weight might be my advantage once I get to use it correctly. So that's kind of one of the reasons behind it. It's the same with the handles as well. Initially I did think to myself, well, I only need the handles just to turn the blade when I need to turn the blade, but kind of using it a little bit today. I kind of was like using the handle a little bit, and I think that when I'm going to be using it for ripping and resewing, I am probably going to be using the handle. So it's one of those, I don't want to mess around with it too much. I did actually consider like making a handle section and adding that, and obviously keeping the original handles, so I can like revert back to these if I don't like it. Same with the middle piece, I was going to replace the middle piece. I mean the top section itself, you know, putting a bit of cord down there, that's not really a big issue, so I probably will do that. And that's just a case of like I can swap that out in minutes, so that's not a big issue. But I mean, obviously making another beam section, obviously that's going to take time. It's not going to take a great deal of time, but it like kind of is worth it. And again, going back to the weight, I'm not taking too much weight off it, so that is kind of one of the issues. So maybe tomorrow, well, depending, I should get out, and I have actually got some ripping to do. So I'm actually looking forward to that, because I haven't got a clue what I'm doing with this. I do, my first inkling with it is to actually turn the blade 90 degrees and to kind of be using it much like how you would use a Rabu frame saw. If you're not watching, I've got this thing on its side, and I would be holding the handle, and I would kind of have it maybe the same sort of angle as what I would have a Western style saw. So that's kind of how I'm gonna like try it, like my first attempts. Obviously, as I said, the blade will be tilted at 90 degrees like so. So I mean, even I'm kind of just messing, for those of you that aren't watching, just listening, I'm kind of messing around with it, and you can just feel the weight of it. It's just like, and I don't know what it's going to be like to actually, you know, rip with this. As I said, I am looking forward to it. And I was kind of like simulating, this is how sad I am, you know. I was actually kind of simulating cutting about an hour ago. Obviously I had everything packed away, and I was just like kind of wondering to myself, I was saying to myself, how am I going to start the cut off? Because obviously with a regular saw or with a Japanese style saw, you use your thumb and your forefinger, and obviously you've got one hand on the saw handle, and you start the cuts. Once you've got your cuts, with me at least, I'll take the other hand that started the cut and put it on the handles of the Japanese saw. Even with the Western saws, if I am ripping, once I've got maybe a couple inches in, I will bring both hands and I'll put both hands on the handle and start using my both hands to start ripping the piece. But with this, you kind of, it's going to be a bit of a struggle to use one hand and start the cut. Obviously trying to do it like a traditional Western style saw, it's not going to work. For me, it's not anyway. If I've got this positioned at 90 degrees, I mean, I possibly could put the blade at 45 degrees and see what that's like, but you're still going to have it wanting to pull over. So I think probably I'm just going to actually hold it by the center beam, maybe try and find a bit of balance with the center beam, and I've got a lot more control where I'm actually grabbing the center piece. So if you're watching this again, you'll be able to see I'm like kind of wiggling this saw around. I've got lots and lots of control where I've got my hand, and obviously that's going to allow us to put to use me left hand and obviously start the cut off. So I think that's probably where I'm going to start when I experiment tomorrow, probably. But the reason I've actually done the podcast on this, because I believe this saw has got a lot of potential. So I think it's, for me, I think it's kind of, it's best of both worlds, because you've got a Japanese like patterned like teeth set on this, which cuts extremely well. Honestly, I haven't tried a hardwood with this yet, but it's going through like I think that material out there is kind of a European redwood. It has got some redness in it, but a lot of it is quite blonde. But it's going through that like absolute butter. I don't think it's going to struggle with oak either. Within the coming days, I should be using this to rip some material, some oak, and I think that's about like 20 millimeters in thickness, and I really don't think it's going to pose any sort of a problem. I think this is just going to glide through it like butter, but obviously I can't say 100% until I've done it. Another thing to add to this, I think one of the reasons, especially if you've got a decent blade in one of these, is why it's going to work so well, because the blade's actually tensioned. So when you think about a Western style saw, when you're actually going hammer and tongs with a Western style saw, you've got a bit of speed up. Sometimes it can kink and the whole thing will bend and it stops you. It stops you in your track, however many seconds. But you might have a few of those going down the length of the cut. It's the same with a Japanese saw as well. Although you actually are pulling and you're creating tension, you've still got to push the thing back into the wood, which again, you can get some binding at times, and it kind of will bow the saw a little bit. So same again, then you've got to reposition yourself and get yourself cutting again. The thing with this, you're not going to get any of that. You're still going to get some binding if the actual wood is tight and it's pulling the two edges of the kerf together. There's no escaping that. Obviously, you're just going to have to put a wedge, some sort of a wedge in that. But as I've just said, once it's fully torqued, there's tension on that blade. It's not going to be the fault of the saw. It can only be the fault of the material, and I think that's because of that. It's the binding of the wood's not going to be as severe, if you will, because you've got the full tension on that. Yeah, you're still going to feel it, but I don't think you'll struggle as much, as I said, because when you're pushing it, the thing can't buckle in, and when you're pulling it, it can't buckle. So it's a kind of a win-win in that situation, and I think that's one of the things that sets these apart. It's still very early days, and I can't really comment on how well or how bad this is going to be. But I am very impressed by this, and that's why I thought I would share it with everyone. Obviously, I'm not affiliated with any sort of companies for this, so it's just, I really think it's got a lot of potential. So before I go, a very quick overview of how it's actually put together. So where the blade is actually connected, there is a metal section. It's kind of like it's about the size of a 10p piece. If you can see that on the video, about the size of a 10p piece that actually goes into the handle. Maybe goes into the handle maybe 2.5 inches, and then it has a pin that goes through the handle, through the steel. The piece that's actually keeping the blades attached to the handle, that's kind of more looks like a front door key. If that's maybe a better way to describe it. Obviously that's fixed, as I've just said, through the handle with a pin. And how it connects to the blade is actually just a Phillips screw and a washer. Obviously that's the same at both ends. Really simple. I do believe you can buy these kits from the company. As I said, this is a German company, so you have got to get them posted from Germany. I do believe in America there's some dealer in America that's kind of obviously got them in stock, so if you live in the States it mightn't be too much of an issue. Not that it's an issue from Germany. I think it may have took about 4 working days, 5 working days, something like that, which isn't too bad. So the centre beam, was kind of funny. It wasn't what I was expecting. So I'm just going to take out this, take off this butterfly, or drop it rather, on that. So the centre piece is actually held into place by some steel again. There's actually steel. There's actually steel. Again, if you're watching this on YouTube, you should be able to see there's actually some steel, and that kind of fits in to the end grain of the centre beam. I was a little bit disappointed with that actually, because I kind of thought it would have been a nice mortise and tenon joint, but alas it was not. So I mean, obviously if I was going to make it and some of you guys were going to make it, obviously you'd more than likely do some sort of a mortise and tenon joint, or maybe a bridle joint. I have seen people make them with bridle joints, which is probably, if I build another one of these, is probably how I'm going to go. Obviously I did not build this. I cannot remember if I actually explained why I didn't build this, but I will reiterate if I have already. The reason I didn't build this was because I wanted to get the sizes, get a feel for it, see what the design is, because going back to the design, this design's probably, it hasn't changed a lot over the course of hundreds of years. I'm guessing, again, this is just an educated guess. And that's the reason that I didn't build one. I wanted to kind of have a look at it first and, you know, kind of see where I am with it. But I will say, most likely I will build the next one. So you can actually buy the kits for these. You can buy the blade, obviously. I would definitely recommend the Japanese turbo build one. The Japanese turbo cut, absolutely excellent. This is probably one of the quickest saws I've used. Despite it being quick, it's not actually too bad of a cut. In the past, what I've found, that when you're actually cutting with a saw and it cuts fast, it doesn't tend to leave too clean of a fin like a cut. But surprisingly, this isn't actually too bad. When I cut the ends of the bench, I did actually just finish up with my number 4 plane, and you know, it didn't take as long, and I got quite a decent finish with the saw. So definitely recommend them. If you are interested, you know, I probably am going to do maybe a follow-up to this, just because there's so little information of how to use these. So I'm probably within the next month or two, that's if it stays in my good books, I probably will do a follow-up kind of video, just basically just showing what I've been messing around with, obviously techniques and stuff, because as I said, I've been looking for people to show us techniques, you know, via videos and articles. The only guy I've managed to come across is Frank Claus, I think the guy was called, and that was a fine woodworking, something like that, or popular woodworking it might have been. You know, and it had a couple of pictures in. basically showing how he's using it. It wasn't very detailed, which was quite a shame. So I am going to continue to experiment, and hopefully I should be able to get some videos out, you know, showing what I'm doing with it basically, and hopefully it wasn't a waste of like £100 and odd, including delivery, of course. Okay, so that's it for me today. Again, thanks very much for listening, guys, and until the next time, I shall see and speak to you guys later.